Okay, everybody, it's 8 a.m. I'll call the meeting in the Metropolitan Sewerage District Commission to order. So right now we've got Commissioners Havel, Clark, Freeze, Bookland, Lankella, and Murphy in the room. We have Commissioners Meyer and Paltz participating virtually, and Commissioner Lytle is out today. So you want to go through the meeting guidance for virtual, please?
Good morning.
Welcome to all our guests.
Good morning, Commissioners, members of the public, and staff. To help us have a smooth meeting, I'm going to review just a few decorum rules for all. While the Commission and staff are in person, we are still offering a Zoom option so members of the public can attend. If you're attending virtually and would like to speak, you can do so during appearances by the public. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube, and the public chat has been disabled, but you can still send messages to the host if need be. Finally, Commissioners, please use your microphones while speaking and make sure your voice is directed towards the mic. When you're not speaking, please ensure your mic is off so others can utilize the mics. As a reminder, only 3 of the table mics can be live at a time. Also, please state your name before speaking for those who may be joining us via Zoom. Those are the decorum rules of the District Commission. Thank you for following them, and let's have a great meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any announcements? None? Okay, so we got 3 welcomes. First will be Bill Walker introducing Ben Neerad and Will Rivard. Did I pronounce that last name right? And then we'll have Matt Sy introducing Jacob Kozitsky.
Good morning, Bill Walker, Director of Business Administration. It's my pleasure to introduce Will Rivard as our new budget analyst. Will comes to us from the U.S. Geological Survey, where he served as a budget analyst, doing budgeting and financial planning for regional water science programs. He's pleased to still be supporting a water mission here, as well as sustainability in the overall Madison area. You have the picture of Ben up there. Outside of work, Will enjoys being outside, running, kayaking, cross-country skiing, and generally exploring the city and the state. And in these explorations, he's joined by his wife, Brittany, and their dog, Murphy, and they're always looking for new trails, neighborhoods, and experiences. He's a supporter of Tottenham Hotspurs in the Premier League, which has taught him patience, resilience, and how to endure suffering. And one glance at the league tables will explain that joke. Soccer aside, Will is a fan of all the right teams: Packers, Brewers, Bucks, Badger hockey, Forward Madison, and a lingering flame of support for his alma mater, Auburn University. Please welcome Ben. Will. It's also my pleasure to introduce Ben Neerad as our new finance manager. Ben is a familiar face. He was here until May of last year doing budgeting for us before heading to the University of Wisconsin to do capital budgeting. Ben put a damper on my May vacation by resigning during it, but all is forgiven. Yeah, all is forgiven since he's returned and he's taking on building the new finance department and helping us implement Workday. And I think, yes, this shows we're a better employer than the University of Wisconsin. Before UW and his first tour here, Ben worked for 6 years with the State Department of Health Services in the Medicaid program, doing a variety of things: data analysis, financial analysis, planning, budgeting, and management, eventually rising to bureau director. He also enjoys the outdoors, fly fishing, hiking, and other outdoor activities. And last but not least, for those of you who knew him before, you'll be interested to know that Ben got married in October. He and his wife, Katie, live on the east side of Madison with their cat, Buster. Please join me in re-welcoming Ben.
All right, good morning. My name is Matt Seib. I'm the Assistant Operations Manager here, and I'm introducing Jacob Kozitsky, our new Process and Regulatory Performance Engineer. So Jake will be working in our operations group, kind of helping oversee daily operations, giving higher level support to the operators, and obviously in charge of regulatory reporting responsibilities for the district. In previous to this, Jacob worked for a consulting firm primarily working in food processing industries. So if you want to know how to make a cheese puff or yeast extract or any of those interesting, soy sauce, apparently soy sauce is a very interesting process. He's the guy to ask. He does come with some previous wastewater operator experience from his time in those industries. And in his free time, he likes woodworking and chasing his almost 2-year-old son around. And that's Jacob.
Okay, welcome everybody, and welcome back, Ben. Okay, that will take us to any appearances by the public. I don't see any hands up virtually. I don't really know. Anybody? Okay, and thank Stan for getting up early to get here. Okay, then we have the consent calendar where we have the meeting minutes from January 29th, cash statement capital, and then a review and approval of 3 sanitary sewer extension plans, and then approval amount of transaction for ultraviolet lamps purchase, the disinfection system. Do we have any questions? None? Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Commissioner Bookland, I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Motion by Commissioner Bookland, second by
Commissioner Freeze, I'll second.
second by Commissioner Freeze. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, so now we have our study session. Seth, you're going to take this off?
Eric Dundee, Executive Director. I'll actually kick this off and turn it over to Seth. A few quick notes as we go through this. So this is meeting number 3 on the strategic plan. We're in the 3rd performance area, public trust. One note you should pay attention to is we do have a paper copy for those in the room, and we will get the attachment updated for the strategic plan. The public trust and the regulatory compliance KPIs that we had before this meeting, we had preliminary ones. We've done future evaluation on those, and really we are once again aiming for our key performance indicators to tell us something. So you will see a change today from the past ones we had for public trust. You'll also see with regulatory compliance, we've actually removed the ones we had and say to come as we work on those. So with that, when we talk about public trust here, not trying to steal Seth's presentation, but a few notes for you guys. This is when we move into a performance area that is more qualitative. So it's about the feeling of what people think of us versus something we can track a lot of data on with assets or, you know, the amount of money in our accounts type of thing. So as we talk about that, please think about that. Also think about the correlation. When we do these, there could be dips in information or the measures that we have related to a project or a rate increase that we have. But we are looking at these KPIs as long-term measures for us. And, you know, when we have feedback on construction or something like that, it might mean we need to tweak our process with public engagement. So with that, I do want to just turn it over to Seth, not overspeak too much. So go ahead, Seth.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, Commissioners. Seth McClure, Planning Engineer. Today's presentation is going to be rather short, but I suspect some of the questions might be a little more extensive than last time, but we shall see. Thank you. Rather than reiterate all of the previous ground, I think what I'm going to do is read the performance area for public trust because I think the wording is actually sort of important, even though it is a little longer, and then talk about the 2 proposed KPIs for this performance area. We can go ahead and advance one more. Oh, I've got it. Okay. Let's see here. Building goodwill and collaborative relationships is vital for our operations and our organizational effectiveness. We strive to build public trust and instill confidence through customer-focused actions, transparent communications, management of high-quality and effective programs, and consistent and dependable service. What we are getting at with this performance area is that we exist at the behest of the public, and so therefore the trust of the public is crucial to not just our ongoing existence, but how easily we operate within that environment. Rather than assume that trust exists if we don't hear anything, these indicators are about us going out and getting that information and assessing it as consistently and as accurately as possible. As Eric said, though, this is a more qualitative indicator. It does not lend itself to the same level of numerical precision that perhaps infrastructure reliability does. Nevertheless, we feel that the two indicators that we're going to talk about today would give us a very good picture of how we are viewed by two distinct groups, and I think that's what we want to keep in mind for today. The first one, then, is a public sentiment analysis. General public satisfaction score that will be assessed using a survey and other sorts of evaluative methodologies. The rationale for this one, I think, is important here. It is a direct measure of the level of public trust and confidence in our organization that includes non-permit activities that promote awareness of the district. Rather than list specifics here, what I want to emphasize with this indicator is that it is for the general public, right, that may or may not have direct access to our plant. It might have a very low level of knowledge, but it also assesses many of the outreach activities, or includes many of the outreach activities that we have going on. Second one is for a different group, direct stakeholders of the district, customer communities, yourselves as commissioners, people with direct access to the district and knowledge of its operations. The attempt with this KPI is to separate that, let's call it an inner circle, from the general public. Because it is a much smaller group with perhaps different levels of knowledge, et cetera, it would be assessed differently with perhaps different methodologies as well. In the past, there have been focus groups and meetings in addition to perhaps surveys and whatnot. Now, it's important to note that these are not new efforts at the district. This builds on a significant amount of effort that has already gone into assessing public trust, various other programs that have gone on before, although there is active planning to develop standard questions and a more consistent survey for the public sentiment analysis. And the same level of planning and attention is being paid toward the second KPI for the stakeholder satisfaction score. These are actively being pursued at the moment and building on, as I said, work that's gone on previously. Having said that, relatively quick overview of that, and so I'll now open it up to your questions.
Okay, thanks. Greg.
Commissioner Freeze, so Seth, I have questions so everybody in this room knows that Public Works is assumed to work 100% until it doesn't, right? No one knows we exist until we fail, which happens exceptionally rarely, right? And so I'm curious, and for you, it's even one step further removed. When I say you, I mean the district, right? Because they don't get a bill from you directly for regular customers. So I am curious for that customer one, for the KPI one, how that is going to be meaningfully assessed, right? because most people really, truthfully, don't recognize, like, if I walked up to somebody on the street of the city of Madison, they assume the city of Madison treats their waste. They have no idea you guys even exist. So it's not that I don't appreciate the need to track this, I just don't know what, you know what I mean, how you're gonna do it.
That was the same type of thing I was gonna bring up. One of my concerns is we may get conflated with the local sewer utility or water utility. So, for example, in McFarland, they've been doing a lot of rate increases, water and sewer, and people may think, oh, this is, you know, when they get it, they may say, oh, that's that district that's driven our water rates up. That's something to bear in mind, because I totally agree with Greg. You could go on the street and ask 50 people, and maybe 2 would know there's a sewer district.
Excellent questions, and I think a very valid concern, and one that we are well aware of. I think one of the reasons for all of our outreach activities is to increase that level of awareness. And part of the public sentiment analysis in the past has been to directly address some of those questions, to assess the general level of awareness just of our existence, and then how we operate. I think that we generally agree that is probably a problem. Although I think, you know, there are varying degrees of opinion on how prominent we want to be and that sort of thing. But I would say that is front and center in designing this survey. Eric, did you want to add anything?
Sure. Eric Dundee, Executive Director. What I was going to add to this is just this is a way that we recognize why tours, Madison Public Market, we have some things that we are doing to get our name out there. But as we said, there's always a dial to that. You don't want your name out there so far that you get the phone calls from that a customer community should be getting, type of thing. But for us, it's important to have it because in emergency response, you know, we had an incident. Well, if we don't have any public trust that we are, you know, cleaning it up and we are taking care of things, the recognition of who we are and what we do isn't there. So it is important to track that in a way for us. It also is one of those things where when we think about this KPI, you might fall into a trap and think that this is just a communications tool or a way to track. But we have our technicians at pump stations, our collection system service crews out in the public all the time. We have our pollution prevention team and all our other teams that are out there, lab doing stream sampling. They have a possible interaction with anybody from the public at any time who can come up. So for us, that helps build the story and build who we are.
Audrey?
Commissioner Lankilla here. I think you almost got to the point where I was going to say, you have our employees, right, staff here, they have a public contact there. Is there a KPI for that one where getting the survey from the staff on how they're pursuing questions are more related to what are they hearing or how is their interactions, what are, you know, like public input, public survey from the staff side. I know we probably do on how we are performing as for the staff that you have some surveys going on, but this is getting the data regarding the public, what they are actually hearing, right? Every one of them has lots of connection points.
I'm sorry, Seth McClure, planning engineer. Are you asking, if I can clarify for a moment, are we collecting data essentially from the staff that has interactions with the public? That is correct. I actually don't know the answer to that. I would ask Amanda or I don't know that there's anything formal at the moment, although I do know that our staff are giving careful instructions about interacting with the public in that.
Eric Dundee, Executive Director. We also do our engagement survey, you know, that talks about do they connect with our mission, you know, do they see where we're going. So I would tell you we don't have anything formal in that way, or we didn't really think about it in that way.
I see both of these KPIs really dependent on outside opinion. So, stakeholder, the public, I am wondering if there couldn't be added a KPI regarding internal indicators of success. And what I'm thinking of is before, feedback we had gotten in the past about not communicating rate increases, not communicating them in a timely way, not really communicating infrastructure, capital expenses and such. And so I'm wondering if we could have some kind of a KPI related to providing budgets at a particular time. I think we looked at providing budget estimates earlier to our stakeholders, providing more timely, maybe focus groups with the stakeholders in a particular time. So it kind of evaluates our internal performance in building public trust. So,
yeah, to kind of build on that, maybe something related to the number of tours and tour groups we have, or people that attend the tours. We heard something, a while back on that. But then we also have, how many contacts we have with the public in regard to pretreatment, whether it be chloride or mercury or whatever. And then that other aspect is, how much, and we've done this outreach on water softeners and stuff like that. Some of these internal things that communications group and others are doing to push us out there, to make us a little more known. And that's stuff that we've been doing, and see if, we can find a gradual increase or something in that. And I know tour groups, for example, when the first tour I took here, I just want to point out a Cub Scouts. And it was really good, and it's unfortunate that there's not more groups, I thought, that take advantage of that. Because it's really important to understand how this happens in our world, and the whole emphasis on water that we're seeing, in water preservation and stuff like that, and water quality.
Eric Dundee, Executive Director. So, quick side note, there is a Cub Scout group actually coming this weekend. But anyways, but to get to the real point here, for Commissioner Brooklyn is, I think what you and Commissioner Hovell are talking about are the internal pieces. So this is a district-wide KPI, a measure for us. So when you are looking for the customer community response to our processes, are we taking action on what they're looking for? That comes into the survey design for us. We had many hours of discussion about how we will show some sort of satisfaction survey data to you guys. We're still trying to figure that out, but I just want to say we are aligned with what you're saying as we try to work it out, because I do believe that is part of the survey is, are we attentive to the issues that you are? Are we responsive? All the things you talked about, the budget, the, rates, all those things. So I think we're aligned in that. I would ask you to confirm that's true or not, but what I'm saying is this is deeper into the details, what you're asking for right now.
yeah, I realize it's deeper into the details, but for example, if we get negative feedback, say, from stakeholders, and that negative feedback, then we have to dive into it to figure out, okay, what's the source of it? And I'm kind of thinking that maybe getting to having a KPI that kind of gets more to the root of the cause might be worth it, rather than measuring the end point. just the endpoint. So I'm thinking, you know, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds either, but you know, is there a middle ground we can do? Because again, both of these are outward focusing KPIs.
Just want to add to that. You don't know, it's kind of one of those things, you know, if careful of the question you ask because you may not want to hear the answer. And, you know, so I think about it. What was the last thing people, public kind of heard about it? So it was that overflow we had by the bike path, you know? So all of a sudden, oh, that might be the thing that sticks in people's mind. So, it's just kind of a word of caution. I think the idea that Beth and I have is that when you're doing surveys, they're dependent on outside analysis and those outside people, but that could be countered by something that does what we're doing in terms of outreach. So, Eric will respond, then we got Dan that wants to make a comment.
So I just would like to make a point of reference that we know as staff that we are not survey experts, and we would be looking for support, you know, to develop this survey, because survey questions can be leading, they can get responses. But I also want to make sure we understand that we can't be scared of the feedback. You know, whatever we get, it is what it is. But that's what helps us develop work plans on changing things, you know, expanding programs, shrinking those type of things. So for me, I want to be careful that we don't try to develop a KPI for a problem we don't have, because part of, you know, my work over the last year has been to work with customer communities, talk to them, and you find things out every time you meet with them. So to have a district-wide KPI that stays constant and even that we can measure, it has to be so high level that you can't have one come on, go off. So.
Okay, Commissioner Paltz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, this is Commissioner Paltz. A couple things. First, since most of our growth is outside of Madison, did you ever think about rebranding the company to be not Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District versus Dane County or some other name to that? That's number one. Number two, stakeholders. I think a lot of us are confused what a stakeholder is. Is that like the Town of Dunn Sanitary District number 1, or is that Dan in his house? Because we never contact the homeowner per se. Like if you're talking about the salt reduction, you never send out a postcard, or at least I never received one. You're assuming that the Town of Dunn is sending it out, and I don't think there's a connect on what the districts outside of there are supposed to do. And it's just, that seems to be a confusion, because I don't think we really know. Like Tom was saying, we don't want to know we don't want them to know who we are all the time, but I don't think they know who we are at any time to some extent, besides when we're in the newspaper. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Paltz. So first point of reference, our name can't be changed. It's a statutory name. So that's not something we'd be doing unless we really had a priority to try to change that in legislation and the other things we have. But second, for the stakeholder definition, that is a very good point. That is something that we have talked about. So for us, that is why we have two separate KPIs. So we have the general public, which is, we would call it a customer of our customer communities, or anybody who comes into interaction for us. They don't even have to be in our service area. The second part, the stakeholder one, is very specific to those who do business with us. So to your example, Commissioner Paltz, it is the Town of Dunn and the Town of Dunn Sanitary District administrators, or whoever is, working directly with us, receiving our bill type of thing. But then we also have the stakeholders like Dane County, ARP-C, other people that we work with on a daily basis. So that's where we would be defining stakeholders. Once again, in development, more definition of these would come later.
Thank you.
Okay. I just want to add something. The district has come a long way since when I first got on the district, and the then chief engineer and director, Jim Nemke, said he didn't want to be in the news because anytime we're in the news, it's bad. And so, you know, we're doing a lot more things externally than what, you know, we did at 30-some years ago. So, I mean, there is something to be said for that we've ramped up. I mean, 33 years ago, he never would have thought of wanting to have anybody that would be a communications director or whatever to help with messaging, because he wouldn't want a message. I mean, messages when you had an overflow, and he would do that. So, okay, anybody else? Ezra, sorry, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I think these two make good sense. I had a thought coming at it from a little bit different angle. To my mind, in between these two audiences, I'm going to call them, that are addressed by these two KPIs, there's another group, and I think Amanda could probably weigh in on this. I suspect we already check back with surveys or some type of evaluation questionnaire when we engage folks pretty directly and a little more deeply. I'm thinking about Badger Mill stakeholder group. I'm thinking about when we redesigned a pumping station over in Middleton, we engaged a bunch of neighbors in the design and in the amenities we were going to build onto it. We do that kind of thing somewhat regularly. And I'm guessing Amanda's crew already does a follow-up evaluation at the end to get some feedback from those folks on how did we do, how transparent did we feel to you, how was our communication, did you feel like it was worth your time to be a part of this engagement with the MMSD. I assume we already do that. I mean, if we don't already do that, I bet we could pretty easily. But to my mind, that group who we have those more deep sort of targeted engagements with is worth asking their feedback afterwards, and then feeding it. It could feed right in here as another KPI in my mind, or as a little corollary to KPI 1. So I had that thought to run by you for your thinking.
Seth McClure, planning engineer. Commissioner Meyer, I think that's an excellent point, and I just want you to know that was discussed extensively when discussing these KPIs. In fact, that very example, and about how best to capture that activity and how best to capture that sentiment. Right now, I can't. I think that would probably be part of KPI 2, because that would be an example of what we would consider a direct stakeholder along the lines of CARPC. But I do want to make sure that you know that discussion and those sorts of groups have been extensively discussed by us as part of this performance area.
Okay, anybody else? Brad or Ken, we haven't heard from you guys? No. Ken?
Yeah, Commissioner Clark. Seth, I think the KPI categories that you have here are appropriate, and I think if additional KPI categories are needed, it'll probably show through as we move through the process. Or if something's need additional information, or questions aren't getting answered, feedback and things like that, I think that all through the process.
That's a good point. We can always amend as necessary. Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll close this session out. Do you have any more comments or questions that you need for us? No? Okay, good. That ends our topics. So we'll go to there's no executive director update. Any comments for the performance review subcommittee, Ezra?
Yeah, I can just quick report. We all of you heard from MGT and gave some helpful feedback on your thoughts on what the executive director performance review process ought to look like, or what you're looking to get out of it. And they're crunching through all of that feedback from Eric, and direct reports to Eric. And and working towards coming back to the committee, I think in March, it's in March, with a draft, sort of proposed process for us to feedback on a bit, and then after that round or that iteration, then we'll eventually get it back to the whole commission. So that process is underway. We are also meeting next week. We meet to talk about performance goals for Eric in this interim period, because the process that MGT is creating for us, we will use midway through this year to evaluate probably calendar year 25, or maybe sort of the first half of this year. That's going to be a bit of a sort of wonky first usage or application of that process. But in the meantime, it's helpful for Eric to have some goals to be guiding how he's operating now, even though we're in this bit of a limbo place. And so we're going to give Eric something to work off of that way. We'll build off of what we had for goals for him in the first year, so 25, and hopefully get there, by the end of a meeting next week, so that Eric has something to work with, and we have something to look at and evaluate on when we come around to the next review at mid-year. That's where we're at for now.
Okay, thank you. Greg, do you have anything? I know you guys haven't met since the last meeting because Dan's gone.
Yep, no, we won't meet until the middle of March, so no updates for us.
Okay. Fine. And Vanessa, regulatory and legal?
Good morning, Commissioners. Vanessa Wishart, Legal Counsel for the District. I just wanted to note one item from the regulatory report that was included in your packet. I mentioned this at the last meeting, but again, just to highlight that for the 2 PFAS bills that have been introduced at the legislature, there was a public hearing toward the end of January on these PFAS bills. They've been updated. So again, the goal of the PFAS bills is kind of twofold: to create a municipal grant program that would allow for or provide a mechanism for use of the PFAS trust fund money, including for things that would impact the sewerage district, like undertaking sampling efforts to identify PFAS sources in the water or in the influent watershed. And then also establish some exemptions for liability under the spill statute, including for utilities that land apply biosolids that may contain PFAS. The amendment to that bill that was introduced is an attempt to get buy-in from both sides of the aisle at the legislature. And while there has been no additional movement on that, I think everyone is pretty hopeful that there will be a resolution that everyone can accept. So I think both sides are moving toward trying to get this passed, which again would be great news for the district. So hopefully I'll have more updates on that coming up as the session moves forward. And then I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Vanessa. Anybody have any questions? I have a question for us, though, or maybe call out of order, but do you know how much we spend per year on sampling? To get that might just be good to know. Okay. And then the future meeting schedule, that's in the packet and the calendar that we have. So now we have item 6A, B, and then we'll end up with C, which is a closed session, convene in closed session in accordance with 1985(1)(c) of the Wisconsin statutes to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, executive director performance review. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Commissioner Clark, I'll make a motion to convene in the closed session.
Motion by Commissioner Clark. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Bookland, I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Bookland. And Cassie, you want to do the roll call, please?
Commissioner Bookland?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Freeze? Commissioner Havel?
Aye.
Commissioner Lonkella? Commissioner Meyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy?
Aye.
Commissioner Pultz?
Aye.
See you in the other room.
Yes, and commissioners that are online, you'll get a prompt shortly to join the Zoom breakout room.
Thank you, Cassie.
Okay, everybody. Cassie, to let you know, we had a motion by Commissioner Freeze, second by Commissioner Murphy to go into open session. We did a roll call. All were ayes, all that were present. So Commissioner Lytle was absent, obviously, but everybody else was there virtually or in person. And the only thing I have to say is that the Commission in executive session discussed the performance review of the executive director. Okay? So, do we have any future agenda topics? Do we have any other business? Motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Clark, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Clark, second by Commissioner Freeze. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. See you soon.